Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. We had some technical issues with our audio for our live stream, and two of our lessons were affected. So, this is the first of the two. We had a flood here in Roswell, and so for our Wednesday night service, we broke from the regular and had a time of worship, and then we went to a devotional, and this is the devotional that we had. And it picks up in Psalm 123, verses 1 through 4, which says, I lift my eyes to you, the one enthroned in heaven. Like a servant's eye on his master's hand, like a servant girl's eyes on her mistress's hand, so our eyes are on the Lord our God until he shows us favor. Show us favor, Lord, show us favor, for we've had more than enough contempt. We've had more than enough scorn from the arrogant and contempt from the proud. Now, there is mostly nothing worse than struggling and really having a rough time, and you're going through trials and temptations and things just aren't really going well. And then you have someone really, and it turns out in those situations, everyone else who has all the answers. You had to do this, you need to pray more, this happened because of this, if you would only do this, you need to pick yourselves up by your bootstraps. Whatever it is that they say, that would be like the scorn mentioned here. In verse 4, where it says, scorn from the arrogant and contempt from the proud. People who have never gone through the thing, but they sure know what you should do now that you're going through the thing. And, it's hard as a Christian because we do have to forgive, and we do have to move past as people who are kind of maybe being a little bit insensitive are, saying things that are making us feel very emotionally charged instead of spiritually led. And when you're going through these kinds of situations, such as the floods that we had here, it's very easy to see what's going on. You see it all around. There's constant reminders of the pain that you're going through. For those in chronic pain, you wake up to it every morning. You go to sleep with it every night. A lot of times you don't sleep well throughout the night because you experience it so much. It's something where it's easy to see what's going on. There's always something there. For instance, with the floods, there was mass destruction. Everywhere you drove, there were, ruined houses and stuff sitting out on the street. When you go through times of loss, there's always a reminder of the person not being there. When you're going through pain, it's not like you forget that you're in pain, and it can be very consuming. It takes really all of it, all of your attention, all your thoughts, and you start over focusing on it. When you go online, you see stuff online. You go outside, you see it outside. You see it in your house. Everywhere you go, it's there. It's very hard to get your eyes on anything else. And one of the hardest things to do when you find yourself in those frustrating situations is to get your eyes off of what you're looking at. It's all around you. You see it everywhere. And then to intentionally get your eyes off of. This is very unnatural. Your eyes naturally see what's in front of you. We are physical beings. We live in a physical world. It's something that we can't just step outside of time and space and just be done with it. There's, as much as it would be nice to be able to just have complete control and always turn off our brains when we're overthinking, it just doesn't work out like that. And so the very first thing to do is very hard to get our eyes off of something. Now, when you say get your eyes off of the problem, a lot of times people kind of hear something else. Maybe you hear me saying, zone out. Find a good book and zone out. Or find a TV show and zone out. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying zone out with things that distract your attention. I'm not saying that at all. Rather, I'm saying getting your eyes off of the problem and then getting your eyes up, setting it onto something. So off of the problem and onto something else. And getting your eyes up. Now, it's very interesting that despair and times of trouble, they naturally lower our eyes, don't they? We start maybe hunching over. We start looking down. Even when you've got people who are kind of trying to distract themselves with their phones, their head kind of bends down, their eyes are pointed down. Everything's always down. It just naturally lowers our eyes when we're sad, when we're struggling, and when we're doing that. It's very unnatural to look up. Instead, it's a very big struggle to look up. When we're tired, we slouch our shoulders. When we're doing stuff like that, it's always down. It's very unnatural. It's going to be very natural for you to focus on the problems. It's all around you. But here in Psalm 123, we don't just see getting our eyes off of the thing, but also getting it on to God. So we're not just looking up, but looking to God. We're not just raising our eyes, we're specifically looking to God rather than the problems all around us that are nagging us for our attention. Let's read that again. I lift my eyes to you. I lift my eyes to you. And why do we lift our eyes to him? Because he is the one who is enthroned in heaven. Now, when we read that, sometimes in our despair, we can say I don't know how else to say it except little blasphemies that come to our heart in our bitterness. And it looks something like this. I'm praying to you, you in heaven who ignores my prayers, you in heaven who doesn't listen to anything that I say. That's not the idea of the one enthroned in heaven. The idea is, no, I'm lifting my eyes to you. I'm lifting my eyes to you, the one in heaven who is still in control, even when my world falls apart. And see, it's going to be very natural to get your eyes focused on the situation, then take it out against God, irritated with him that he's letting this happen. It's very unnatural to get your eyes off the problem, get your eyes onto God. So lifting your eyes and putting them as you lift them onto God, and then acknowledging him as the one in control instead of the one who's distant. The one enthroned in heaven can mean two very different things to people depending on where their heart is at. So when we get to the next verse, it says, like a servant's eye on his master's hand, like a servant girl's eyes on her mistress's hand, so our eyes are on the Lord our God until he shows us favor. Until he shows us favor. God, we're just looking for mercy. We're looking for favor beyond the answers in the middle of a problem. So our eyes are on the Lord our God until he shows us favor. We're looking for your mercy, God. Some translations read, we're looking for your favor until he shows us mercy or until he shows us favor. We're looking for something beyond the answers in the middle of the problem, beyond what we're going through, beyond what we're dealing with, beyond having all the answers. We're looking for something beyond that. We're looking for your mercy and your favor until he shows us favor. Not until he gives us all the answers. Not until, hey, I know exactly why this happened and what I need to do and I have a game plan and all that. But rather, in the absence of all that, still resting on your goodness, God. I know for me, for those of you who know me, I have health issues. And a lot of times, one time specifically, I remember where I was just really irritated and crying out to God and asking him to just relieve this, if I could just have it go away. When you deal with something every single day, it gets a little bit discouraging. And I remember, I was really upset about this, and I just felt like God was speaking in my heart, saying, worship me. And that's one of the hardest things to do when you are going through a problem that's always there. You want God to just take it away, and instead you cry out to God, and he tells you, worship me. Instead of complaining, instead of focusing on the problem, worship God, even in the middle of the problem. We think worship is for when God gives us victory, but worship is also for when there is no victory, when it's a daily slog and a long, slow defeat, and we're stumbling our way as best as we can. Worship belongs there too. So we're going to keep waiting, not as a backup plan, but we're going to keep waiting as long as it takes until he shows us favor. Job says it like this, though he slays me, still I will hope in him. Even though I will still hope in him.